The modern enterprise ecosystem is defined by compounding complexity. Thousands of users interact with tens of thousands of digital assets every day. The baseline objective of systems architecture is matching those two sides, accurately defining exactly which person is allowed to view, edit, or delete a specific digital object. This node graph illustrates the danger of an end-to-end assignment approach. Directly mapping individual users to individual actions makes the math work against you. 1,000 users and permissions instantly creates 1,000,000 intersecting pathways. Add the daily friction of an active business. People change departments. Promotions occur. Organizations restructure. Every personnel shift requires tracing, verifying, and rewiring these connection points. Provisioning access at this volume represents a severe architectural vulnerability. To survive it, we must abstract the relationship between the user and the system. The earliest attempt to solve this complexity relied heavily on the base user profile. Administrators grouped necessary system permissions into a single container and assigned it to an employee upon hire. The operational flaw in this design surfaces immediately. When an employee needs just one extra permission for a special project, the administrator cannot modify the base profile without granting that same access to everyone else sharing that profile. The standard workaround is to clone the entire profile, add the single permission, and assign the new variant. Look at this massive, rigid structure. Administrators are forced to repeatedly clone it to accommodate minor daily variations in job roles. Eventually, a system-wide security update requires patching hundreds of slightly different disconnected profiles, which causes the infrastructure to fracture. True architectural scalability requires permanently decoupling a user's base identity in the system from their specific day-to-day functional duties. Relying on base profiles for detailed functional access mapping inevitably generates a massive and unsustainable volume of technical debt. The necessary alternative to the monolithic profile is the permission set. A permission set is a modular block of access granting a single ability, like reading a record. The logic is additive. However, an employee might require 15 separate sets for daily duties. Apply that requirement to 50 users with the same title. Every time a new employee joins this department, an administrator has to manually select, drag, and assign those 15 individual blocks. Piecemeal assignment increases the likelihood of human error. Critical permissions are forgotten, or the wrong access is inadvertently granted. If the core requirements for the department evolve, administrators are forced to manually track down and individually update the permission stacks for all 50 users in the cohort. Fragmenting monolithic profiles succeeds in creating granular control, but ultimately fails to resolve the underlying scaling problem. The definitive architectural answer to this fragmentation is the permission set group. This container wraps the blocks. The group is an abstraction layer bundling independent sets into a single unit. Instead of an arbitrary collection, it's assigned a job title, like Tier 2 support. Now, this centralized group connects to all 50 members at once. System capabilities are mapped directly to human organizational roles. The technical architecture now accurately mirrors the HR structure. Deploying a single unified group removes the administrative overhead and eliminates the risks associated with selecting dozens of individual permissions by hand. When a new employee is hired, you simply attach their user node to the pre-configured group, instantly granting them exactly what they need. If the job role evolves and requires new system access, adding one permission block into the master group automatically pushes that update to every user assigned to it. The permission set group takes granular, feature-based security and translates it into a highly scalable, role-based architecture. Enterprise organizations inevitably generate edge cases. An intern joins the Tier 2 support team. They need the standard group access, but compliance dictates they must be restricted from highly sensitive actions, like deleting records. You cannot remove the delete permission from the foundational group, because that would strip the ability from the rest of the fully trained cohort. If you create a custom Tier 2 group just for the intern, you resurrect the exact cloning problem that caused the monolithic profile bloat. The framework solves this with an advanced Boolean function, the muting permission set. Inside the assembled group container, we isolate a single permission. Muting applies a strict layer of subtractive logic over the group. It targets delete records, suppressing that command, while leaving the rest of the group's access entirely intact. Traditional models are strictly additive. If a user is given a write, it cannot be selectively deactivated without tearing down the entire assignment. With muting, the foundational underlying permission sets remain pristine. They are completely unmodified, ensuring they can be safely reused across other departments. This subtractive capability handles complex compliance laws and temporary probationary restrictions without generating a sprawling mess of custom groups. Muting sets provide the strict negative space required to enforce rigid architectural standards while effortlessly absorbing real-world exceptions. By utilizing permission set groups and muting sets, we arrive at the definitive architectural standard for enterprise access. This comparative view illustrates the new rule. The primary non-negotiable directive for modern administrators is to keep base profiles minimal. The base profile should strictly act as an anchor point for network security protocols and login credentials, nothing more. All functional system access must be delegated to the modular permission framework. Permission set groups operate as the flexible, interchangeable definitions of your human organizational roles. Muting sets provide the subtractive logic required to handle strict compliance and exceptions. This modular framework replaces fragile monoliths with clean, adaptable engineering. We have successfully moved from a tangled, unreadable web of individual assignments into a cleanly abstracted, role-based matrix. Enterprise environments are defined by massive scale, complex compliance laws, and relentless organizational change. Utilizing this framework completely insulates the administrative team from structural collapse, even during massive corporate restructuring. Technical debt is eliminated because every single permission asset in the system remains an independent, highly reusable building block. True scalability and access control requires designing resilient architecture capable of moving at the speed of the enterprise.